Stay on. Say hi. So here's.
All right, hold on. Let me just change my.
So we've got Steve. We're up right now. I'm just recording pre-show. I read your website's nice. You probably don't realize it, but on Wednesday, I'm trying something different. We do podcast 7 days a week, and it's live and it's up the same day. Yours is going to be up in iTunes this evening, which is really nice. Yeah, it's every day. In fact, if you listen to the show from yesterday, because we do politics Sunday night,
I saw that.
It's up this morning right now with the forecast for the elections tonight, and that's Dr. Nicholas.
I was wondering how you did that, because most people are weeks out or months out. So
like 45 days.
Yeah.
This is working really, really well. And I saw what you do too, the coaching, teaching, consulting, coaching, and education. I've got a background similar to you. We had a real estate company for 25 years, almost 25 years. Yeah.
Up in Tahoe?
No, Modesto. I got out after 9 years. I went back to school in construction management at the military, and then started a design build construction company, built 2 subdivisions. My wife was a real estate agent, broker. And then we bought Better Homes and Gardens when it had 19 agents. And we did really well. I built custom houses too. So, but the real estate ended up making more money than construction.
Got it.
Which I thought was kind of neat.
Yeah, that is. Well, I know Better Homes and Gardens really well. I know Sherry Chris, who's the president of that. Mm-hmm. And then Alex Perillo, who's the head of Realogy with all the brands. Yeah,
this is the older Better Homes and Gardens. And then GMAC bought it.
Days, yes. Well, I was part of leftover GMAC because Brookfield bought all the GMAC franchise, and I became Real Living for about 3 years. So I met a lot of the guys in the GMAC network.
We went independent and did fine. Now we're a small office, team office, and just focused. And then I actually I was activated for the war, which I shut down the construction. But in between deployments, I'd expand the real estate and make it bigger. So we got a good background.
That's awesome.
Cool. Let me mention some. At least on my end here, Bill, it's very hard to hear Steve. So, Steve, I don't know if you have any headphones or.
He sounds fine. He sounds fine right now.
You can turn up. I'm just talking from my end, but
Steve, let me work on it. Let me talk. Don't hold a second. Just talk.
So
his sound is fine. Go off.
Phones, I've got them.
Yeah, don't do anything.
All right.
Mike, just for grins, I just made you a host too.
Let me put my dog outside my office because she can sit outside. I'm afraid she might bark at something. So let me try.
That's fine.
Hold on 1 second.
I found the initial host, a person like myself, gets the premium, the YouTube and the sound. So, see, I'm getting right now, Mike. I'm getting noise from me again.
Well, you shouldn't.
I just turned it off back on. Now it's not doing it.
You know what? Yeah, you are, because I'm not using any headphones. So.
Headphones are not critical. You don't have to use headphones, but
that seems to be the issue. Is whenever
it definitely helps when you use. Well, maybe not. I'm not sure. So, Steve, talk again. Sound check.
Yep, I'm back. Just put my dog outside, so hopefully we won't have too much noise.
You're good, and I can do magic for iTunes with the sound. I've got some tools. So anyway, my background. I got out. I have the design, build, construction, civil engineer. And 9 years active, Air National Guard, back in the Army, deployed to Afghanistan. I got deployed so many times. I was also vice mayor of Modesto when the war broke out.
You were a busy guy.
Well, I was one of the youngest guys in the BIA as vice president. I was supposed to be president of the BIA, and unfortunately, I ran for office and I won, so I couldn't be president of Central California. But I built 2 subdivisions, designed 25 custom homes. We built all over the place. So I did it myself. I did all the design, build, construction, small team, 7 people. But I found that real estate was actually a better business, even though I love to build.
Yes.
It was actually better. Go ahead.
Because of the margins, or because it seems like the margins sometimes in construction, if you get in good, have some good margins on that.
Yes and no. You can hit a subdivision right. I never hit a perfect subdivision. We didn't lose. We're only making like $17,000 a unit, which isn't enough. I mean, it's enough, but it's not. You don't get rich at 17,000. You need to get over 50 a unit to get rich, and then you start making money.
Yeah. Right.
That's when you start making money.
Did you enjoy doing it?
Oh yeah, I loved it. Loved doing it. Loved building, but it's very capital intensive. And I found though with real estate, we were doing really well. I was when I wasn't doing, and what happened in Central Valley is lots started drying up. So I started focusing on 40-acre parcels, and I got very good as a broker marketing 40-acre parcels up and down the valley. And new construction. So that I just did it all in little postcards. My whole marketing was strictly postcards we get to sell or 40 acres because you hit all the farmers remotely, and that's no one's going to knock on doors for farmers in 40-acre parcels.
Right.
And then what happened is people from the Bay Area started building houses on 40-acre parcels and contracting out the almond and the land. It was a 3-acre parcel and a 40-acre parcel. There wasn't a whole lot of difference in cost. And building site, it was the building site that counted. So, hey, Mike, you got sound going. Hey, we're going to start. I'm going to get it going.
All right. Well, I'm going to jump off anyways because you're going to do your interview here. But yeah, I'll keep an eye on you because I'm going to be on the phone, so I'm going to be kind of be back and forth. But I'll be back towards the end.
We'll talk. Mike, by the way, Mike is insurance. He's done really well, 10, 11 years online. Vince Lombardi, a lot of sports, and he's got some other businesses. So he does really well.
Nice to meet you, Mike.
Hey, we'll talk to you guys soon. Good luck.
All right.
So you started your own business too, real estate brokerage, right?
In 2009, yes, and I ran that for about 5 years. So I was at Prudential for about 15 years, and then I ran Real Living Real Estate for about 5, and then wrapped that down in 2014. And then last year made some transitions out, and for the last probably 10 months, been doing this consulting, coaching, and workshop stuff, and just finished up a book that's coming out in a couple weeks. So I've been working on that. So I kind of transitioned out.
Led to Gold, is that it? The book?
Led to Gold.
So I did a little of my homework.
Yes, thank you.
So here's another thing too, is we're on right here too. These are called props. And I've got you on the iPhone here too watching. And what we'll do, if you have a few minutes, we'll stay on afterward if anybody wants to come up and just talk or ask questions. Okay. And I'm experimenting with something. I'm going eclectic. I do 7 shows, but they're different kind of shows. On Wednesday, I do a joint show. It's on 2 RSS feeds, not Wednesday, but on Saturday. And it's WP Tonic, and it was rated number 2 in WordPress for the category in iTunes. And I created that with another person. And what we're doing now is after the show, we go up and review sites. We reviewed your webpage on it. So I had a Canadian as a guest on with Jonathan and I. And
very fun.
You have a pretty good webpage. How long have you had that website?
Just about a month. So I'm still tweaking it and going to modify it further, but only up about maybe 3 weeks. It's only been up.
What's been your experience with that website, building it?
Well, I built it through a guy named Jim Cronin, who owns a company called Tomato. So it was a little cumbersome, but it got much of what I want to get done. There's a lot of stuff I want to add back on it for sure, with a lot of more interaction, a lot more lead generation opportunities. I'm going to update some more photos and videos. So it's a work in progress, to say the least. Another show you might want to come on is we have a real estate show once a week, and we're combining it with timelines. So we get double bang. We're finding we're getting better numbers. And Jonathan Denwood knew nothing about real estate a year ago and developed a SaaS product. He developed a product, and he's trying to think what businesses he could apply it to. SaaS is software as a service. And we did this podcast for WordPress, and he said he wanted to try to start a real estate podcast. So I've helped him with that a little bit. But we've combined it with timelines now. So I only have so much bandwidth. I can only do 1 show a day. Right, yeah.
But we'll edit it right after this. And I enjoy it. I meet so many people. And so you transitioned. Now you started, just one before we go on the show, 5 years ago. What year did you start your personal real estate company?
2009, and ran that till 2004. End of 2014.
No one starts a company in 2009, a real estate company.
It was beautiful. Well, that was part of the story. That was after being at Prudential for 15 years, and I started there as a manager and ultimately rose the food chain and became the CEO. But that was in the midst of 2007, 8, 9, when everything was downsizing. So I helped close about half the company. And then when that was almost done, then I got downsized and closed out. So I got pushed out of corporate America, as they say, which pushed me into being an entrepreneur. So the timing wasn't opportune, but it definitely was an exciting and crazy, thrilling ride.
So you had, let me try something real fast. Just not. You had, interesting. You had investors with you setting up a 400-person company, right?
Yes.
I've always done it, sort of from the small up. I think the most I've trained over 100 people. We used to get, in fact, the book was down from Orange County. It was Gold Coast correspondence book. We bought the books in mass. We bring them in and said, here, just go. We're going to drive you through this book really fast. Just do it. And 17 days later, you can take your principles test. And this is the least, and we do it cheap, $50 for folks.
Yeah.
And it worked.
That's a good way to go.
Yeah. And we had a lot of high-end folks, but I got to see a lot of people, the wash rate in real estate is huge, as you know.
Yeah, it's way huge. Well, we would go after seasoned vets from other companies that were already producing. And then we also had a licensing school that we outsourced to a licensing company. And then we had mentors. We would bring people in and give them mentors and get them up to speed. So I had both mix of seasoned and new.
Yeah. I had, when I got in the military after 9 years, I had 3 houses, one in Tybee Island, which I wish I'd kept clear and free. I bought a unit with a Navy officer, 11-unit brick building in Boston, and we converted it because I had my construction background and made a lot of money on that. Made twice my pay as a second or first lieutenant.
Wow.
And then I went to Korea for a year, got married. My wife's from Boston, but bought a house all in cash in Tybee Island in foreclosure and broke the lot and finished the house as a contractor's house. And I wish I'd kept that thing. It went up. We bought it like we're under 100,000. We sold it for a little over that. I split the lot. I had a beautiful lot too, and it went up to when they brought cable and internet onto the island, Tybee Island. It went up to $800,000.
Oh my God!
Sold.
Wow.
I just wish I kept that thing. I wish I'd never sold that one.
Yeah, that sounds like a good gem to hang on to.
When it's about 500 now, 5 or 6, but it dropped. Yeah, it was the top of the market.
Yeah.
But and then I owned 2 houses in El Toro and made good money. So I got out with no debt and about $350,000 because I cashed everything out and then started my design build construction. And it took me about a year to start making money. And then the real estate, but we did everything, construction, real estate, and we had an office. It was only 1,700, but I had my construction in the back, conference rooms. It was a beautiful office, old building, Modesto, Central Modesto. It was fun. So it was fun to run a boutique office.
Yeah.
We had about 3 producers at any one time and about 10 agents, 10 to 9 agents.
Yeah.
And we had our assistant for 17 years. Same person for my wife.
Unusual.
Yeah. Yeah. I thought that was, and everyone was licensed in our office too. That was one of my rules. Everyone had to be licensed.
Yeah. Makes it very helpful to help the customer in any situation.
Yeah. Just at first, my wife is, uber cautious. And then when I was military, I got out and I thought about this because I was really frustrated. In 2007, we have a really beautiful house in Modesto in a gated community. And my wife, for some reason, didn't want to run the business without me. She'd done it too many times and she wanted to consolidate. And she's a pretty good producer. And she basically went into PMZ and downsized her office. But the cost of the office was really, I didn't own the building, but I had the leases and it was an old building. It was a beautiful office. And the cost of me rebuilding that office is pathetic. I would never do it again. The TIs and the phone system. I had the very best of everything, Exchange server, and it just worked. I used to use 7 licenses to ACT contact management. We'd take a farm, from the title company. I give it to an agent. So they have a geographical farm. Everything I had like the first cloud before there was cloud. So it was working pretty well. It's just really frustrating. But anyway, I wanted to get it. I might as well take advantage and get out of Modesto because I want to live somebody nicer in Modesto. Modesto's a tough town. It's great and it's not even good for building anymore. It's so anti-growth with the farm element and the water issues.
Oh yeah.
So I came to Reno and I wanted to start an office that looked like an Apple store with just 2 monitors in front and like a Genius desk. And that was going to be it. Then I tried to sell out to the agents like 40% and then keep 60 for the company, for a couple agents, and then go to the next office. That was my plan. And my wife didn't want to do that. So didn't want to spend the money. So I said, I'm going to try something different, sort of like you're doing. I want to do a deep dive into this new technology like we're doing today.
And how long did you
2 years ago. And I've done 200 shows, but what you don't see is I saw that you're the learning management system side that I'm about to jump into, LMS. Have you looked at LMS at all?
Is that the program that you have on your site? That's the 39.
No,
program?
that's an experiment. I'm just trying that. In fact, we can shut that down.
Oh.
That is going to come up though. But learning management systems, I'm doing a $5 learning management course just on Blab. But eventually I'll have a product that's probably between $400 and $700 for both real estate agents and politicians. It does everything that I do. And I've got 20 websites. That's why they're 20 websites. Yeah.
Wow.
So I built them all myself but I'm not great at that. I just do that. So anyway, I'm playing around with stuff. I'm about to launch. That's what I'm about to launch. I wish I could build a book like you've built a book though, written a book. Book is
it was,
go ahead.
Yeah. It was easier and harder than I thought in different ways. It was easier to write than I thought, but it was much, much harder to edit than I thought. I've been editing for weeks and months, it seems, to edit to get it down right. But I knew that it would become something that if I liked and enjoyed, I'd probably write a few others on other topics. But it's been like birthing your first
I think
child.
like the first book or your first learning management system, it's very difficult. So anyway, that's what I'm getting into. I'm studying that and looking at some different things. I love word camps. I don't know if you ever heard of word camp. I love word camp. So let me get going now. You're down Escondido, right? Oh, excuse me. I meant to say Encinitas, and you're pretty close to the train track, I take it.
Yeah, I can see it from my front door. So we're about 2 blocks from the beach.
I almost, when I got out, I came very, very close because I wanted to stay in the reserve, in the military, and I was a pilot in the Army. And I ended up at Moffett Field, but I almost went in the Marine Corps. And I came that close to buying in Oceanside when I got out.
Yeah, we lived in Oceanside when we bought our first house 25, 30 years ago up in Oceanside.
Yeah, that's nice. You're not far. You're just down the road.
That's 15 minutes, probably 10, 15 minutes south of Oceanside.
Beautiful weather, really nice weather. I'm in snow up here. I like the weather here though in the climbing. So Reno. Yeah,
last night we had a storm. I mean, it knocked down trees and fences, and today it's bright and sunny as probably 68 degrees.
You're going to be amazed at how good the sound is in the podcast from your pad. So let's get going. I'm going to take a 2-minute pause. It's going to be about 25 minutes, the interview. I'm going to take a break because I'm going to put a real estate commercial in.
Great.
And I'll do this when I get close to the break, and I say we're coming to a break, and if we can talk or rearrange. So the very first part is I'm going to put your intro in after we do the show. I'm going to post-production it, and this is how we're making the show. I'm going to pause. Well, the day and timelines, as you know, we're heading down to Encinitas, and we've got Steve on the line. Steve, how is the weather down there? I heard you had some hurricanes last night.
Yeah, for us, we definitely did. There was wind just knocking trees. It's like trees and limbs down and lawn chairs, and wind was whipping. And today it's bright and sunny. It's probably, I think it's about 65 right now. So it's beautiful, and there's a lot of debris I got to go clean up.
Yeah. Some crazy El Nino storms hitting you. Last night we had timelines, the Meet the Voter at meetthevoter.com, and Dr. Nicholas Hernandez in Laguna Beach was one of the members on the panel, and we could hear the wind knocking against the house and building.
Yeah, it was crazy. My dog was just like going around in circles going, what the hell's going on?
Well, Steve, you have an interesting career similar to mine in some ways. You've been in real estate for many years, at least 20, 25 years.
Yes.
And right now, real estate is really good, yet you're out of it now and you're going into something you have more of a passion for, it sounds like, which is the consulting, coaching, and education.
That's correct. Yes.
So who is your, what we call avatar, or who is your targeted person to coach?
Right now, I'm looking at small to mid-sized entrepreneurs that are doing, probably anywhere from, a low of 500,000 a year in revenue, but mostly revenues. I'm trying to get people that are like a $1 to $5 million entrepreneurial revenue type group that has some maybe a year or two in the business, that is looking to scale and double the size of their business in some fashion through revenue increases, but also for someone who is looking to have a more well-balanced way in which they're doing that. So I'm really part of my business with Alchemy Advisors is trying to help people find the chemistry of a balanced life and still make the money that they want to make. So I'm looking for the entrepreneurial base. I also, on a separate note, still do stuff with corporations and companies since I was in corporate America for 25 years, but I really much prefer working with entrepreneurs who are kind of crazy out of the box entrepreneurs looking to make a change.
Do you still have your real estate licenses in California?
I do, yes.
Your brokers?
Yes, I don't actively sell. My wife and my daughter are actively with a team and they sell. I haven't sold real estate in years. I used my license just for education and purposes, and when I sold 25 years ago. And I had a different broker for my own company. And when I was at Prudential, just for sake of liability once removed, but I still licensed and I still, could use it if I need be.
We've been in that same business, and liability is always something we're always looking at and making sure there's backup brokers and all the way down the line. You had a very big brokerage. You had a brokerage, and then you evolved in management. Then you started a brokerage in the worst of time in 2007 or 2008, somewhere 2009. And you built it to a very successful company with 400 agents. I don't know how you did it in 2009 because that's when we were in the dumps. Yeah,
it was brutal. Well, at that time, I had been at Prudential for 15 years, and started there as a manager and moved up the food chain and got up to the CEO. I was the CEO for the last few years of that company. And we had a lot of agents. We had around, at our peak, not in 2008 or 9 when I left, but at our peak, we had about 4,700 agents, and we stretched from San Luis Obispo to San Diego. So when I left the company, I actually got pushed out in 2008 after all the downsizing happened. As you mentioned, that it was one of the most brutal real estate markets that I remember in my 25 years. So 2007, 8, and part of 9, I was tasked with closing half the company down. And then after I did most of that, I got pushed out. So I found myself an entrepreneur in the middle of the worst real estate market I'd ever dealt with. And so at that time, I had a lot of people who wanted to follow me. So within about 6 months, I had probably 200 people follow me over to my new company. And within about a year and a half to 2 years, we got up to around 350 to 400 agents. So it was quite a rapid expansion of growth and excitement happening in the market.
So I know that your wife is also a practicing real estate agent or broker, and you are also an entrepreneur. So you got a double entrepreneur family. I know what that's like. It's the same here. My wife is. My wife is a practicing broker with Chase and licensed in 2 states. So our pay comes in and out, and we sort of have to bank and reserve and do all those things an entrepreneur has to do. So what's it like? What's been your biggest challenge so far starting up your new business, your consulting business?
Yeah, that's a good question. It really is phasing out of one world that I know really, really well. I mean, I know real estate like the back of my hand. So stepping into this new space of consulting, coaching, and education is really kind of feeling like I've stepped into a whole new pond, learning new technologies, learning new ways to promote myself, reaching out to clients and creating new clients in different ways. So it's probably the scaling up to getting back to the level of income that I'm used to making and feeling comfortable in how I'm doing it. Just in being on podcast or redoing websites or learning about ClickFunnels and Infusionsoft and all kinds of programs that I'm going, wow. Because in my old world, I had people that were able to help me with that. I had marketing people and technology people and, PR people. And now it's just me. So I keep going, oh, I'll have so-and-so and do that. I'm like, oh, that's me. Oh, I'll have so-and-so do that. Oh, that's me. So it's being a one-man band until I've got enough revenue streams coming into the business that I can scale up to having an assistant or some help on the process. So that's been a challenge.
I can relate to that so much. In my design build construction, we had about 7 employees, and one of them, actually 2 of them sort of work for the real estate company. One is my draftsman ran our exchange server, our networks. And then we had a processor office manager who was with us for 17 years. And those are like right-hand people, and you can get so much done more with a team. So I'm in the same boat. We've gone down, we've downsized, and we thought, hey, downsizing, less money, less revenue, expenses. But the same token is you don't make as much either. So it's a two-edged sword.
It is a two-edged sword, absolutely. And it really makes you stretch a lot of your muscles of learning technology, things that you're not always real comfortable with. But I've learned a massive amount of information. I've been on so many podcasts and webinars and learning about online marketing. So it's been an amazing process to learn, and I don't regret it. And I know it'll come to pay off as I'm coaching and consulting my clients as I move forward to know what they're going through. And it'll help me to give advice and direction when I'm trying to help give them suggestions on marketing or scaling businesses. But ultimately, I want to be able to have someone who helps me as a right arm that does most of it for me, so I can go out and interact with people more directly.
Right. You have to get out front. Someone has to be out front. Someone has to be doing the backside.
Yes, exactly.
So I'm going to ask you, you still put together a team. You're outsourcing, which we can do more and more now. And you've got someone helping you with the website, I take it.
Yes.
How's that working? How do you decide who to pick, and how do you find your website's a good website, by the way.
Oh, thank you. Well, actually, that came just through a past relationship. In my real estate company, we always had large websites for our branches and then for our agents. And for the last few years, they have been WordPress based. I had my own separate website that was WordPress based back for 8 or 9 years. Wow. I had a blog site. So I had steverogersblog.com that I've had for 8 or 9 years. And the gentleman who did that site was a guy named Jim Cronin from Real Estate Tomato. So when I switched over, he already had my site. I said, hey, can you switch over and convert a site? So it just became familiarity, being familiar with the person. And we worked on it together, and I knew what content I wanted, and I knew the look and vibe that I wanted. And it's a work in progress. What the site is right now, I think probably over the next few months, 30% of it's going to be updated and changed, and more content added and more interaction added. But at least it's got it's got content out so people can find me and know what I'm about and kind of get a flavor for what I do.
And now you also mentioned Infusionsoft. Are you using Infusionsoft?
Yes, I just got Infusionsoft about 2 months ago. So I'm going through all their workshops and their one-on-one coaching. I've got some funnels that I've set up on that for people that are coming in to either apply for the book, or if they want a consultation, or if they're getting an email from me. So I'm learning all of these different funnels that go through, and it's more than mind-boggling.
It truly is. Now, and I got to ask you this on Infusionsoft. This is good because I've done the same thing. You and I are tracking so parallel in different ways. I do a little bit more probably programming, but that's hurting me in some aspects because instead of getting out there and going forward. On your Infusionsoft, did you go and buy the package directly from Infusionsoft, or did you have a outside independent trainer?
A little of both. There's a group that I'm a part of called Power Team International that's run by Bill Walsh, who's a national international coach trainer, and he has an entrepreneurial network within his group. And I got a group discount because of that. So I went through him to get the discount, but then I had to buy the package through Infusionsoft, and they require now that you have to buy this advanced start program that you get coaching for 5 weeks, I think it is. So I got the group rate, but I'm using it directly through Infusionsoft. And then I've got a gentleman who I met who came out of the woodwork, and just one of the email blasts that I do, who used to be a social media guy in San Diego. And when he saw I was getting in the coaching business, he offered to help me with Infusionsoft as a friend, because I used to let him in my real estate offices and pitch social media platforms to my agents. So I've got 2 people helping me right now, which has been a godsend. Yeah,
that's good. I mean, you sound like you're having some good luck with putting people together in teams, and that's so important. Tough to do. One of the side businesses that we experimented with was helping people with their websites and a lot of small business people. And I can't tell you how many business people really get off in a bad direction with their website. Some don't own their domain. They're really basics. So I tell them, go back to the basics. And you started with blogging. So maybe you did the right thing. You started with the blogging. So you had the fundamentals before you went out and spent the money.
Yes. Yeah, and the blogging stuff originally that started with me when I was back an executive, even at Prudential. I always said that as the leader of the company, I wanted to make sure that I was trying things to encourage my agents to try them. So, getting Facebook pages, getting business pages, having a Twitter account, having a blog, using video. I made sure that as a leader of the company, I was trying to lead by example so that my real estate agents could go out and experiment themselves to see what would work for them and their clients. So I've had a blog for many, many years, and I still have my Steve Rogers blog site, but that's going to phase over and just get incorporated into the Alchemy Advisor site.
Hey, with that, we're going to go to a break, but after the break, I'm going to come back and ask you one separate question about real estate, actually, because it's going to be about what do you see the qualities of a great real estate agent are.
Okay,
and the second thing, we're going to go into your success principles after the break.
Okay, great.
Okay, we're coming back off the break, and we're going to ask a question before we go to Steve's leadership and success principles. And the question I'm going to ask, since he's got so much time in real estate, and I love real estate still, I still love it today. But what did you see made the best real estate agents and to that extent, best teams in real estate?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say one is that there's drive. I mean, definitely the team leader has to have drive, that they're just naturally driven to perform. The next would be that they're resilient, that they can take rejection and they can take up the highs and lows of the real estate business, and they don't necessarily take it too personally, even though we always take it personally. But if you're resilient, because there are a lot of highs and lows. And the third is that they really have a desire to make a difference, that they really, really want to help people, that they love the commissions, yes. But I think between that drive, resilience, and making a positive difference in people's lives, that creates a great real estate agent. And then from creating a great team, if you have that concept and you can share that message with others, and then understand how to delegate out certain functions to the team members so that not everyone's duplicating efforts, that can be really magic in how you have people prospecting or having buyer's agents or listing agents. And that can really create a really great functioning team for sure.
Now, I know you were a bartender when you were younger before you got into real estate.
Yes, I was.
Our best agents were bartenders when they started.
Yeah, I always said that. For me, being in the restaurant business was one of the biggest and best training grounds of customer service, long hours, multitasking, serving the customer, and real estate bartenders and waiters made great salespeople for sure.
You know why? I think because a bartender becomes a very good listener.
Yes.
And they get to relate to people. It's like every person's a new client to experiment with.
Yes. That's a great point. Yeah, I had similar experience.
That's very good. So going on, I've got your success principles, and I'm going to go ahead and read those out. There's 4 of them. And the first one is be authentic. What does that mean to you?
Be authentic is really finding a way to break down all the walls and break down all the masks that we wear sometimes as people as we go out in the world. And I learned as I was climbing the ladder at corporate America, when I tried to be the guy with the suit and the tie and go out and be the stoic leader, it worked, but it worked much better when I learned to become more authentic with being a real human being in my vulnerable life that I was having, and share those stories and just was real and just really shared being an authentic person about my fears, my expectations, my hopes, my dreams, and really kind of more in a transparent way.
So your second is sort of fits into what you just said, to be authentic. It's be vulnerable.
Yes. And the difference between authentic and being vulnerable is authentic is where you're willing to take down and be your real self and knowing what that is and defining it. So being your authentic self and taking power in that. And being vulnerable is still, the word vulnerability is, kind of scary in itself, because when you're vulnerable, you don't know how people are going to react, and you don't know if it's always going to, if you're going to get the result you wanted. So, but being vulnerable to me is really where it is opening yourself up to another human being and allowing you to have commonalities and assuming that they probably have similar. And I find that creates a really unique bond. And most people relate back to you very quickly in what they're either vulnerable about or if they have common issues that they're dealing with.
Very good. When in charge, take charge.
Yes. Colin Powell talked a lot about that. And when you're in that seat, whether you're the head of a real estate company, whether you're, running a business, whether you're a politician, that's a big responsibility. And people are looking for you to be the leader. So I always say that when in charge, take charge, make the decisions, make the tough calls, lead the group, make sure you're coming up with a final decision. And whether it's yes or no, figure out what it is and get that word out to people as quickly as possible.
Very good. And lead by example.
Yeah, I think that for me with that is, it really is exactly that. Whether it's your personal life or your fitness and your health, I make sure that I always am trying to better myself, and I let people know about it, whether it's self-improvement, health and fitness, learning about self-awareness, education, taking risk. And so leading by example is showing people that you're not going to stay stagnant and you're not going to stay status quo unless on your laurels. And so I try and do that.
I'm going to follow up with a question on that, lead by example. When you lead people and with your experience in real estate, and especially in the brokerage business, you had a bunch of new agents, majority, and you had some seasoned agents.
Yes.
What was the difference in the way you led those two types?
Well, the seasoned agents typically came in, and unfortunately, they had created a partial sense of ego and self-entitlement. And it's not necessarily a bad thing, but when you get into selling 40, 50, 60, 100 houses a year, which many of my real estate agents did, they became more like a client. And so as a client, you're advising, you're directing, and you're sometimes just trying to help them feel that they're making the right decisions, and you're kudoing them. You're giving a lot of kudos to your top producers, and you're building up egos, and you're trying to help them stay out of trouble. With the brand new agents, a lot of times you're having to help really guide them, educate them, lead them, show them, and have them get over their fear. Because a lot of times new people coming in are getting ready to get ready to get ready, and they want everything to be perfect. So you're trying to help them, to lead through fear and then to go out and just do it and then help take them through the process. So it's a little bit different approach.
I can relate to that. I've been trying to put out my first LMS product, my first online product, and it's tough. It's tough. It's really weird.
Yeah.
It's a tough thing to do that. I heard that first digital product is tough. And the same thing in real estate, all the getting out there initially and restarting. My wife is having to do that in Reno, and it's tough. She's gone to a set clientele to starting over again. And you have to reset yourself to go back to basics.
And, changing momentum, changing the momentum and getting something going, whether you're creating something new or getting started, it's difficult to get the momentum going. And it takes a lot of energy and force to move the ball up the hill. But once it starts going, you get it to the top of the hill and it starts rolling, watch out, then you can really get your momentum and flow.
Right. Well, especially if you have the experience, it's just getting the momentum going again. You can get going fast. With that, we're going to go to a break and come back with your commercial.
Okay, great.
Well, Steve, we're coming in off the break, and now it's time for your commercial. So tell a listener how they can get a hold of you, and then tell us a little bit more about your business and what kind of services you can provide.
Yeah, great. Thank you. My company is called Alchemy Advisors, and alchemy comes from a couple different places. I love the book, The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho, which talks about Santiago's journey to find his personal legend. And I love the word about that. It talks about transition and transformation. So the company's called Alchemy Advisors, which is helping people transition, transform, and evolve to their highest good in life and business. And so I help people not only focus on making profits in their business and increasing their revenues, but also really finding higher purpose and meaning so that they're having a sustainable business, so that they find joy and happiness in what they're doing. And the way they can find me is on my website is the easiest way. And that's www.thealchemyadvisors.com, thealchemyadvisors.com. And I've got a few blogs on there. I've got some videos, and I'll be continuing adding content to that particular site. So that's the best way to reach me.
Very good. So I'm going to go ahead and paste that in the bottom here, because when people go to show notes, they can find this link when they go to the Blab link, which is also in this website at timelinesofsuccess.com. Hey, I'm going to ask you 2 questions. Normally I ask this up front. And the first question is going to be going back a little bit. Where did you actually grow up?
I was born on the East Coast. My dad was a Navy man, so we were Navy brats up and down the East Coast. But most of the time I lived after he retired from the Navy in Indianapolis, Indiana. And I kept going when they said, go west, young man, go west, young man. I eventually ended up in California when I was 21, and I've been for 30 years.
Always nice to find out. So in the Navy, was your dad ever down in San Diego?
Yes, he was.
So you got to
But I wasn't quite in his eye at that time. I was just, I think it was before my time. He was in San Diego before I was born. We were in Annapolis, Maryland. We were in Norfolk, Virginia. We were all up and down the East Coast, but he ended up in San Diego for a short time.
So where did you go to high school?
North Central High School in Indianapolis.
Oh, in Indianapolis. Wow. That's the middle of the country for.
Yes. Midwest boy for a period of time.
Yeah. Interesting. You have that Midwest sound. A lot of times in California, this Midwest and California have a very similar sound along the coast. Very good. And you live in a beautiful part of the country. And for our last question, I want to dive into your book. Tell us a little bit more about your book and what it was like writing the book.
Yeah, thank you. So the book, I played up on the theme, The Alchemy, turning lead into gold. So the book is called Lead to Gold, an entrepreneur's journey through transition and transformation. And it talks about my rise of going from becoming a manager in a real estate company that had around 400 agents in 2004 to when we grew that company up to almost 5,000 agents throughout the period of time. And I was a Prudential real estate company. That company got bought by Warren Buffett in 2001. So I worked for Warren Buffett's organization for almost 7 years. And so it talks about being the rise up the ladder, but then it also talks about my demise. After the real estate market started crashing and burning and I had to lay off half the company and close all the offices, I then got fired. And it birthed me out to from that tragic situation at the time into becoming an entrepreneur. So it talks about the journey of how do you transition and transform, turning lead into gold. And so how do you take challenges in your life? How do you take issues in your life and turn it from lead into gold and transform into something you really want? And it gives tips and techniques about that. It also gives some basic business startup ideas. And then it really is a kind of an inspirational, motivational book along the way. That's
good. You know, you've seen the ups and downs and some hard times in real estate. And, you know, you're going out there and you're restarting with this new company as a solopreneur and building it. So hats off. You've really gone through the cycles. And, you know, I'm going to ask one last question. I do this sometimes. It seems like one of your clients should be somebody in the real estate industry, like the brokers or the people wanting to build companies. Are you looking at that person as a client?
Yeah, I am. But I'm really, right now, my clients are probably 60% outside of real estate, which was by design. As much as I love the real estate space, I wanted to spread my wings and start really trying to help entrepreneurs in all walks of life. So some of my people are wealth managers, technologists, social media. One of them is a small residential real estate luxury broker, but I have a real mix of different types. One's an attorney. So I've got a mix of different people that I'm really trying to learn how to help them with universal leadership skills, universal business building skills. So my ideal business model is half real estate and half outside of real estate.
That sounds like a great combination because they fit back and forth. Well, we thank you for coming on. Stay on. This is the end of the podcast, but we're going to go ahead and stay on for YouTube, answer a few questions, and bring it up for the audience in Blab.
Great.
Okay, opened up the seat. So Mike is up and, she just took off. We had let's see. Roxanne was just up there. Hey, Roxanne, what's the website? You had some questions I didn't answer. A lot of times I'll run the show. I'll have two people, somebody helping. There's Roxanne. answering the questions on the right side, which you can't see. People were asking questions like, what's the website? And we answered that. And that was from, and then Roxanne is up. Mike, you want to come back up? Roxanne, any questions? Roxanne is a good person coming up. But here we go. There's Mike. Hey, Mike, any questions?
No, and I said I have to apologize. I was jumping off, kind of doing. I had to be on the phone, so I didn't. I was on the telephone most of the time here.
So what, Steve? With Steve was talking. He's got a pretty good website. There's Roxanne. It's kind of nice. He's getting his business going, recycling. Hey, how far do you reach, Steve? Where do you actually? Where are your clients located?
Right now, they're from San Diego to Nevada to New York.
Las Vegas? Oh, wow. New York, too. Wow. Yeah. My wife just came in my wife and girls were in New York for 3 days. My daughter just won at 13, level 8, won the Manhattan Classic in gymnastics.
Oh, that's exciting. Congratulations for her.
We have a 15 and a 13-year-old in gymnastics. So, yeah, kind of neat. A lot of travel, though. A lot of travel.
I bet. Yeah.
They'll be in Long Beach for, I think, is it regionals in Las Vegas this year. They go to Long Beach or something next.
When you have kids in sports, they definitely drive your life. That's no doubt.
Oh, yeah. We didn't talk about your family. Do you have kids?
Grown kids. They're 28 and 34, and I've even got grandkids.
Is your daughter the one who's 28?
Yes, and she's pregnant with her first child, and she's due in June.
Hey, my wife, we've got a 13, 15-year-old. My wife made more money in real estate when she was pregnant, both times. The best years ever. I don't know what it is. She had like 3 transactions going the day after she had one child. I remember in bed with the phones and running stuff, and she had an assistant. It's funny.
That's wonderful.
Roxanne, you got a question?
I had to keep jumping out and in because I lost the question, the sides of the comments. Mm-hmm. So I'll have to pull up the website, but I got to hear, how you had to, how your job, the company went, you had to lose some of the, employees and everything. I bet that was so hard. Gosh.
I thought about that too. Yeah. It's painful.
Yeah. Anytime you get fired from something that you've been building for so long, I mean, getting fired in general, but when you're the CEO of the company and you've helped build it, it was definitely a trying time. I've been at that company for 15 years, so I really had a lot of heart, sweat, and soul that I put into it. And I loved that company. It was a great company, and we did a lot of great, wonderful things. But I knew that it was a brutal time. I mean, from 2006 to 2008, there was mortgage meltdowns, banks were closing, real estate companies were closing, people were getting fired. And I, unfortunately, myself had to fire probably at least a couple hundred people myself. And we closed about 40 of our 100 offices. So it was, negotiating lease lists being closed. And then it was a week before Christmas. The suits came from me from up in Omaha in Minnesota and said, well, you make a lot of money still, and you've been resistant on getting a few more offices closed. And we want to put the guy in under you. So they put the guy in under me that made a fraction of what I made. And I found myself out in the world. So it was brutal. But I tell people it's kind of like if you've been reading a book for a really, really long time and you finish reading the book and you get to the last page of the book and you close the book and you go, wow, I didn't quite think that book was going to end that way.
Who was that, you, Roxanne? It's okay.
But I said, you don't quite think that book's going to end that way. But what a really great book. And then you're just done. I mean, when the book is done, the story's done, you got to go pick up a new book and create new chapters. So I took it as it was hard, but it really propelled me into my whole new path. So I found a lot of blessings in it at the same time.
Hey, Steve, with that going on, did you go see the movie The Big Short?
Yes. Great film. And it was so bizarre. I mean, it brought back so many memories of stuff that I was going through at the time because I was on the real estate side of that. But we were anticipating what was going on behind the scenes with politicians and banks and, all of the stuff that was happening. People were losing credit lines and, the short sales that were happening. I mean, it was in a crazy situation. So, yeah, that was a fascinating film for me to see.
Well, and I know I mentioned this to Bill back around that time. I was selling a lot of mortgage protection, mortgage life insurance. And I'd go sit down with these people and was just amazed. I go, how did you get this mortgage? You're sitting there with a 75-year-old with $1,100 Social Security, with a $700 house payment, and I'm going, how did you get this mortgage? And she's happy as can be because she's in this newly remodeled Halls in inner city Cleveland. She's happy as can be, and I'm going, the math just doesn't add up. And I started talking to my mortgage friends, and they go, we don't have to verify income. We don't have to verify age. I mean, basically, if they could breathe, they were getting a mortgage.
Yeah, no doubt. It was crazy.
And it was a lot of waste for me because I couldn't legitimately sell them anything because it just didn't. I just couldn't ethically do it. I said, this thing's not going to stay on the books, just as like this house isn't going to, this lady's going to lose this house, whether it be a month from now or 6 months from now. So, yeah, when I look back, I said, man, oh, man, a lot of people got wealthy and even in tens of hundreds of thousands of people got hurt.
Yeah, no. So many got hurt, and the big boys got bigger, and some people made massive amounts of money. You're right. That movie was just really kind of an eye opener. There was another movie
when one guy goes to jail and all those other guys got multi-million-dollar bonuses.
Yeah, they have one scapegoat, and the rest of them just keep making more money. It's craziness. It's a crazy world.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, during that time, I had we had to crap. I'm sorry. I had to look.
It's okay, Roxanne.
Just hit the little mic there.
We're
on YouTube. This is like blab. We're blabbing. This is okay. Blab is really casual and relaxed, and it's a great way to communicate with people like this. It's kind of fun. Hey, real fast, Roxanne goes on. First quarter of 98, we were really starting to take off with the building again, and then the war broke out for me, 9/11. But when I came back off my first deployment, I had really downsized and said, we're just going to focus on real estate. At that time in 2003, I said, I think we're overheated in this market and it's too dangerous to go in and try to start a subdivision or any properties. So we cut back on the building and focused just on real estate in 2003. And that was a good move. And then, but we did okay. We got sort of lucky because I got activated again in 2007. So I really pulled back. But my wife had a transaction, and I'd always lived in a subdivision I'd built, and I'd taken a lot and sort of built a little custom on it and taken over leftovers and really made good money building one house in every subdivision I built to live in. Well, anyway, and I built big customs for very wealthy people, $1 million customs plus. And then what happened is my wife was doing really well in 2006. Now, first of 6, we had and we knew the market was turning. We had a transaction where we had to buy a fairly good big house in a gated community. We sold our house I built. We always lived well within our means, smaller homes, but building businesses. And so we bought this house. It made us about $70,000 commission. And I did some analysis. I said, no, I think we could maybe go down 15% in value. That house went down 50% in value.
Wow.
And we were at 6% or 6.25%. And I was deployed overseas. We had the income. We couldn't refinance it. Didn't get a 4% loan, which were available because there was no equity in it. It was really torqued me off. And I saw all these bandits in the banking industry getting away with murder. And it took a long time to finally get refinanced. And now we're getting back to where we used to be with the equity. And I put $100,000 in that house plus our commission. And anyway, the only reason we bought that is my wife, you'll understand this. My wife had $1 million house on top of that and another house past that. It was like we had to buy this first house to make the other ones kick. That's the only reason. But it was we still have it. It's a beautiful house. The doctor was in it. We rent it now. It's like too nice a house to rent.
Oh, it's the mix of the real estate world. The highs and lows and the portfolios that you build. Some houses work, some don't, and hopefully one offsets the other. It's definitely it can be a risky business, but all in all, I think it's ultimately where the majority of wealth can be made.
Yeah, I call it my bond because it's a 3%. It's a 3% loan, so I just call it my long-term bond out there with that house.
Yeah, that's a good call. Then that's a way to look at it. Good.
So I was checking sound. So anyway, any other questions, you guys?
Well, I was going to say,
no, I'm
losing my job, we had to fight to get a lower interest rate, and finally we got one. And since it was that low, we got it fixed, and so now we're doing better and able to make some extra payment, to putting more money to it, and hopefully we'll get it paid off a little bit earlier than when we had signed, the extra lease and everything. So
I actually have a variable but it caps at 3.5. Figure that one out. You understand that? There's some really amazing variables out there. I mean, it'll go as low as 2.5 to 3.5. That's 1 point spread. It moves around. So
yeah, well, we got it at 5. So That's what we had to do. So now I can put a little bit extra to it and maybe get it paid off earlier before, gosh, I'm like 70.
Steve, do you advise business people with real estate still and investments, commercial buying, not buying?
Yeah, I think that, depending on the right area, I mean, and a lot of times you don't have to buy just in the area you live either. There's a lot of people that are buying out of state or different marketplaces. So I find that the commercial stuff and residential in the right markets, and if you look at the individual product, is a great investment to have for, for long-term or short. There are still some flips that are happening out there, not near as many over the last year or two. But there's also some group, a lot of people are doing group investing where they're getting involved in pooling their money together and buying small strip malls or different things, and they've got somebody who manages that, and it's kind of a safe bet. So I definitely believe in putting money into real estate in the right situation and reducing some of your risk as you're looking at your other investments.
Yeah. What's big here in Tahoe, which I've never seen before, really interesting, and real estate agents are primarily the owners. They'll go up and buy a cabin. Two or three real estate agents will buy a cabin. They'll create like a timeshare for themselves, 3 or 4 people, and then they'll lease out like 6 months of the year to people with long-term leases. Like you get it for 2 weeks at Christmas for the next 5 years or 10 years.
Right.
It's really a neat, and basically the 3 that go in it's almost a no money down if they do it right, because they get the advanced leases and they get them set up ahead of time. And there, I guess I don't know what exactly the laws are. I'm not current now. It's a specialty, but it varies from California to Nevada. But it's really neat. It's like a mini timeshare with just a cabin. So it's kind of a neat thing.
That's a creative way to do it for sure.
But a lot of people do it here. I think it's just regional or low. I never heard of it in Southern California or Central California along the coast. How's the market doing down in San Diego?
It's a stable market. It's properties are moving that are good properties are moving fast in a day or a few days. Stuff that's priced moderately is still sitting on for 2 to 3 weeks. But I would say it's a seller's market or a buyer's market really right now. It's just a moderate, good, healthy market that's moving well, and there's some good appreciation, and there's no panic. There's no sense of sky is falling, and there's no sense of rapid the market's out of control. So it's feeling kind of healthy at the moment.
How are the condominiums doing in downtown San Diego? They sort of really fluctuated.
Yeah, they were down for a long time, and they've really come back quite a bit, and they're starting to have buildings go back up again now. So construction,
the high rises.
High rises are heading back up again in the condo market.
Those are some beautiful views. I guess a lot of retirees down there in those condos, but they were up at $1 million. I think they went down to about 300,000. Some of the ones that.
Yeah, they really dipped down. There was a real low there for a long time, but they're healthy back, and there's a demand for them, so they're building more for sure.
I wanted to buy everything. If we hadn't bought that house, I wanted to buy everything in 2008 and 9 when I was overseas and saw the numbers. Even 10. I guess the low was 10 or 11.
Yes.
Some really great buys. I mean, that's the time to get back into California. Now California's come back before a lot of other folks.
Agreed.
Now, Bill, I've seen some folks jump on here. I know we got Jason, who's a big mortgage guy, so I'm going to jump off. But I would just give you a little bit of the Midwest. My daughter lives in Chicago, and she bought a condo that she sold in about 18 months. Just it'll be a year since she bought her new one, where she almost doubled the value.
Good for her.
Yeah, it's a great time to come
one
back.
of those, she could not walk away. They were building $1 million condos across the street from her, and hers went from, 250 to 500. And she says, "I'm out of here." That was like 18 months. So
as I get older, I've made a decision. I'm going to try to never sell another piece of real estate again.
Buy and hold.
Just buy and hold. I mean, it seems crazy, but we have a dollar store in Santa Ana, and my family helped establish and start Far West, which was Coco's and snack shops. And they go in and buy a lot and build a corner for them. We own the buildings on Snack Shop and Coco's. The last one that we turned down was the Reuben E. Lee on Newport Beach. It was right on Highway 1. They didn't buy that. If they would have bought that, they just didn't want it. They should have.
Yeah, I know that building.
Yeah, that's that whole area there. It was just changed over, but there used to be the boat there. I forgot.
Yeah,
but anyway, they stopped at that one, but they actually got a Far West going, which is Snack Shop. All that. So we've converted some of those now to Mexican restaurants with tortilla machines in them. So my family still has some of those, and they're mostly in the old parts of town, but they're nice. They do well. They're all clear and free.
That's great.
So I like that buy and hold thing.
Yeah, buy and hold can work at certain times for sure.
Yeah.
So Steve, Steve, I just want to say goodbye, and Roxanne, Bill, I'm going to check out so somebody can jump in here, and I'll talk to you guys later.
Yeah. I have to head on in a minute myself. Nice to meet you, Mike.
Well, we've got a couple other folks. We've got pretty good. Look how many folks are watching right now. We've got 11 people live right now.
Yeah.
So
I have something to tell you. My father-in-law, he lived in South Carolina, Myrtle Beach. And when the Air Force had a base down there, and nothing else was there at Myrtle Beach, he says he could kick himself for not buying any property when they were down there because nothing, and it was so cheap. He could just, why did not buy any land at Myrtle Beach for the way it is now? But that's what I was waiting to tell you. I'm going to go out too and let someone in.
Well, thanks, Roxanne. And I know that Steve has to get back to work. But this podcast will be up tonight, of course, and it should do pretty well. And, another thing, Jonathan is up there. And one of these days you might want to come back and talk about some of your real estate experiences. And you must watch real estate still, like all the new tools. And you saw stuff that I didn't see because I went back in the military for 5 years. Because I just got tired of being deployed. I said, I might as well finish up. I got my retirement on a program. So yeah, 9 years active. I did it the hard way, 30 years of active reserve. I would not suggest, just stay 20 years straight through, then do your next business. It's too hard when you talk about momentum. I lost momentum after 9/11 many times. I couldn't get it. I could do it in real estate, but I couldn't do it in construction. It's just too much.
Yeah, understood.
But hey, real quick as we end up, you said buy and hold. What do you think the best strategies are right now in real estate for investors?
Well, I think, for me, I think it's really scouring the market and finding what's best in the niche that you really want to be in. Because what's happened is a lot of times people think it's just, buy and fix up and turn and burn, which was the market. I'm finding that investment group clubs are really what I'm enjoying right now. A friend of mine runs a commercial investment group where he finds strip malls throughout the country. And then he has investors that are putting in 20, 30, 50, 60,000. But he's got a formula that he's really testing the market that's got anchor tenants that really are very solid, that have good growth around the local market. And then people put in their money and it's got good returns, and he manages the property for them. So that's kind of you don't have to worry about the property management of it. So I like those kinds of deals. In California, it's difficult along the coast where I live because the properties have appreciated so much. So a lot of people are going inland. They're looking at different markets in the east part of San Diego or California, or going into the Midwest. I mean, a lot of stuff's happening with some Midwest purchases. I have a friend of mine who's invested in some towns outside of Austin because Austin's going very well. So still buying some single family residences. But I'm starting to look more at the commercial stuff myself.
I like commercial if you do it right. And it's going to be some transition, I think. And no, there hasn't been a lot of commercial building in a long time. That's a big thing.
Right.
So there's a lot less, we'll see. But though I was concerned about the internet still and the online business taking less brick and mortar too. That's another thing to look at. I don't know about retail. Gotta be careful with retail. Maybe service, specialty service is the target in some of the new elements.
Yeah, agreed.
Well, I have a lot of people up there, and I appreciate you coming on today. We'll get this up. Usually I stay on till about 10:30, but I don't want to hold you, Steve, if you have to get going. It came out well. Tell folks you're using the iPad right now.
Yes, I am on the iPad. Absolutely.
Your first day on Blab. So congratulations.
So it was quite a fun experience. Thanks for inviting me, Bill.
And I think you'll find the sound is pretty good on this. Here, let me drop a link in there too. I dropped a link earlier. Here's a link. You can always go to Netcasting 101 or go to Timelines into resources and find this. Okay. But I get my ripping 4%. I think everyone should do that if you have a website. But the two things are at the top. It's because podcasting equipment, it's the ATR 2100 and the ProLine desktop. Those are both on Amazon. Okay, great. It's about $50 for the ATR 2100's USB plugin. Okay. And then the stand I recommend that over this, and then some of the other tools. It's a lot to this. And if you get up to Reno, look me up. I'll buy a brunch. All right, Bill. I will definitely do that for sure. Let me know if I can give any help to you as well. Yeah, I appreciate it. I'll stay in contact. I get down to Southland at least a couple times a year. Well, definitely look me up in San Diego, and I'll take you on a tour wherever you want to do, or lunch or something. Oh, good. Yeah. That's one place when I build the money back up, I'd love to get something along the coast down there. It's a beautiful spot. I love living here. Yeah, it's beautiful. Well, thanks. And if I don't want to hold you up, but we have a lot of other folks. Anybody want to jump in? Any questions? Any dialogue? Jonathan, anything up? Jonathan, I would think would be asking you about SaaS right now, his product. He's got a product. First of all, since he's here, as real estate agents, I used to get bombarded on our company line with people trying to sell us stuff. Agents, they're really high targets because they're easy access. What do you see the best products are? What does an agent really need these days?
As far as promoting their business?
Yeah. What do they need to spend money on outside their brokerage other than mail?
What a lot of people are doing right now is they're buying lead generation. They're buying leads from companies like Bold or Commissions Inc. So everyone's looking for leads, create leads, find a way to create leads. And then people are looking for great CRM programs. So they can have ways to really interact and connect with their clients and make sure they have that going. People are also investing in a lot more video. Video is stuff for their properties, for themselves, for communication, for their newsletters. So I would say lead generation and video are the hot thing. And they are definitely trying certain venues where they're doing some webcasts. The agents are starting to experiment with webcasts so they can educate buyers and sellers on certain topics, whether it's 1031 exchanges or first-time buyers or what's happening in the market. So I'm seeing them experiment with that to try and be of more value to the consumer.
Yeah, like this blab right here, you could bring people up and talk about 1031 exchanges or a real estate investment once a week.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's for your client.
Yeah, there's a good technology platform to do that. I'll have to, I'm going to experiment with myself as I get moving forward in my own practice here.
And my wife being in 2 states, we're trying to do the same thing. We're going out. I'm trying to help her. It just takes time. Trying to just take the iPhone. We got this right here. And then just take the subdivision and talk about the subdivision. We got a little Rode mic, which is really nice. It comes out very clear, and then get her out there. But tell her it's tough. My wife is 50 and she came from a different type of real estate business model, and to get out in front of the camera and to talk and it's just different. She came from a very relationship driven business where you got to know families and people and relationships over a long period of time.
Yeah. And it's definitely trying to do that through a device to people because you don't have the same connection, but the concept is the same.
Yeah. And then some people, I mean, it's just tough to get up in front of a camera and be good and show the subdivision.
Yeah. People get intimidated for sure.
And the blog. Question. How many agents you know that don't blog? Blogging's simple. Yeah.
Probably 90% of them don't.
No, and blogging is something, it's really basic. So I'll let you go. I don't want to hold it up. And it looks like we've still got a good group of listeners up there. And sometimes I stay on if anybody wants to stay up or ask anything. Right. Hey, also, we got elections today. I won't hit you this politically. What I find is politics is really bad for business. But now since I'm out of the military and I was in local politics, by the way, I lost half of my business when I became a city councilman in Modesto. I tore off half the people.
Politics didn't serve it so well on the business side, huh?
Yeah, my wife still did well with the real estate, but my design, build, construction, I'd have to tell people, well, if we do any work for you, I have to step down and not vote. See who's calling here. I can't get that later. But
right, no, I'm going to sign
I'll take
off
care.
I got to get into another call at 10:30.
I was going to ask you, what do you think what's going to be the outcome tonight in Iowa?
I'm not saying.
I don't care who you support. What do you think? So that's what you asked yesterday. So, all right, take care. Thanks, Steve.
All right. Have a good one. Thanks, Bill. Have a good day.
Take care. Anybody else want to come up and give us the outcome in Iowa tonight? Any changes? Jonathan was on yesterday. Hey, the show came out nice. I listened to the show. The show that's up right now in Timelines is Meet the Voter, meetthevoter.com. And it's really kind of a fun show to listen to. It's about the outcomes tonight in Iowa. So for those who are listening, I think most of us agree that Trump probably will take it and Bernie has a good chance of taking it. Everyone leaned that direction to Trump and Bernie, and the second positions were Cruz and Hillary. So that came out of the timelines yesterday. And I mean, Meet the Voter, meetthevoter.com. So let's see, I'm looking at rental rates. Oh, I just saw your note. Rental rates stabilized and moderate soon. They will go up quickly. Yeah, rentals. I think rentals, actually 3-bedroom, 2-bath house is a great basic house to rent. But we're in Reno too. I think Reno is an okay market. We're a little heated up in some areas. It's hard to get the rent money. It's actually more expensive here than it was in Central California for a home, surprisingly. I think that's because of the complexity of building. It's a little bit harder to build on the land here. And the permits and fees may be a little higher because of water. But we have a lot of water actually on this side of the Sierras, a lot more than people think. So anyway, we got the elections tonight. We're kind of excited. I might try to do a special little show on the outcome to see if we can get the special show up and like after the election. So anyway, folks, I'm going to go ahead and sign off. This is really good. It's 10:25. I always try to finish up by 10:30. That way I can start editing right away and get the show up. So thanks for everyone tuning in. I'm going to tweet it out one more time. and do a quick tweet, and take care. Till tomorrow. We'll be up at 9 o'clock tomorrow Pacific, and you can find us at timelinesofsuccess.com.